Good Friday morning, a time for reflection, sacrifice, and hope as the Easter season begins. Welcome to Kakaki Social. I am Chidera Ezidoye. Now let's get right into it. Our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has expressed deep sorrow following the recent terror incident in Jos Plateau State, promising justice and support for victims and their families. Now, yesterday, the President Ahmed Bola Tinubu met with stakeholders and victims affected by this recent attack in Jos, and during this visit, the President acknowledged the pain and irreversible loss suffered by families, stating that no amount of money can replace the lives lost. However, he also assured that the federal government will provide necessary assistance and stand by those affected in this difficult time. In an emotional moment, the President also addressed one of the victims, Rhoda Favor, expressing sympathy over the loss of Ayuba, while admitting that words alone cannot heal such deep wounds. Reaffirming his administration's commitment to justice, the President vowed that those responsible for this attack will be identified and brought to justice, describing the incident as a dastardly act as a bad act. That is what he meant. A typo error there. Now, let us see what netizens are saying concerning what the President did yesterday and all of that. In my reactions, God's Time is saying, "Sir, we appreciate you visiting just today, but many of us here in Plateau State are exhausted. No amount of we will do our best or we feel your pain brings back Ayuba or the dozens slaughtered in Agwa-Gurukuba. We've heard we will find the perpetrators too many times. While the killings continue week after week, lives are cheap in the North Central, insecurity has become normal, and ordinary people like us see no serious change in protection or justice. Promises and visits comfort the cameras more than widows and orphans left behind. We need real action, not more words. When will the blood actually stop? Hashtag Plateau bleeding, hashtag enough is enough." And Farida is saying a government unable to protect its citizens deserves to be queried. Now, this is a tweet the President made in April 14th, 2014, where he said, "My heart bleeds for our people and the country over the death in Yanyan. A government unable to protect its citizens deserves to be queried." And Farida is quoting him now. Now, let us continue. Now, in another story, in a move aimed at tackling the rising insecurity, the Plateau State governor has revealed that the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has given approval for the recruitment of 1,000 forest guards. According to the governor, this initiative is part of broader efforts by the federal government to secure forest areas often exploited by criminal elements for attacks and hideouts, and also 5,000 camera networks approved by the President. Let's take a look at this video.
Thank you, Boso Tijani, the Honorable Minister, for communication. Is here to give you assurance we are going to install immediately a network of cameras that will help the law enforcement agencies to identify the troublemakers instantly.
Okay, so that video was trending yesterday and netizens have been reacting. And Ife is saying, why not do the needful? Stop repentant terrorists camping and shooting them immediately. We know the camera wouldn't do it. Now, the terrorists will keep operating a few kilometers from armed barracks, yet no army on site. Let us continue. Bulus is saying, does this make any sense? Is the camera going to avert any attack? Are the attackers out of reach? After every attack, have you apprehended them and let justice judge them? How many of the attackers received presidential pardon under your watch? How many have been in the army? In the same line, Kuti is saying, what happened to satellite and drones? We need to improve on our technology and our security. And the final reaction, Mr. Ayan says, waste of money with the disappointment emoji. Their daily videos posted on social media show their faces and locations, yet no security agency track on them. Fixing cameras will not help, but rather a waste. Okay, now let us continue. We have another reaction in the same line. Okay, that is that. The African Democratic Congress has demanded the sack of the INEC chairman, Professor Joash Amupito, accusing the electoral body of actions that threaten Nigeria's democratic structure. In a statement released by the party, ADC alleged that recent developments within the electoral system point to a deliberate attempt to weaken opposition parties and consolidate power in favor of a single political bloc. Let's see this video.
This INEC has left no one in doubt that it has chosen the path of dishonor and has become complicit in undermining Nigerian democracy. It therefore can no longer be trusted. We demand the immediate resignation or sack of the INEC chairman, Professor Amupita, and all his national commissioners. We no longer have confidence in them. We are convinced that they are incapable of conducting any credible election.
Citizens are saying, because this has been trending since yesterday, even on Kakaki this morning was a topic. Now, Chido Biago is saying, absolutely, if there's credible evidence that the INEC chairman is undermining democracy and steering us towards a one-party system, accountability is non-negotiable. Sack him now before trust in our election is lost. And in the same line, Dave says, ADC's call to sack the INEC chair shows growing political tension ahead of 2027. Leadership fights, court battles, and protests show how fragile Nigeria's party politics are right now. I must say that the electoral system is corrupt, allegedly. Now, Toby Faji is saying the deeper problem isn't one man. It is a system where the president still appoints the independent electoral umpire. Until that structural flaw is fixed, every election will feel like a coronation dressed up as democracy. Now, ADC is calling it out publicly, and it is necessary, but the real test is whether they turn this into sustained legal and public pressure instead of another trending press conference. Nigerians are watching. And let us continue. Favor Joseph is saying, if he is sacked, who appoints the next one? Is it still not the presidency? Nigeria's electoral system needs a total reform. Presidents appoint a very sensitive position such as this, and you expect them to work without bias? A very legit question. Now, let us continue. We have one more reaction in the same line, who is saying almost the same thing, just something a bit different. Okay, now the ex-president of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan, has advocated for urgent reforms in Nigeria's electoral process, emphasizing the need for a more efficient and credible system for resolving election-related cases. Now, speaking on the state of the nation's democracy, Jonathan urged the National Assembly to consider setting up a constitutional court dedicated solely to handling election disputes. According to him, the current system places a heavy burden on regular courts, often leading to delays and prolonged legal battles that can undermine public trust in election outcomes. Okay, now let's go to the space of X and see what netizens are saying concerning this. J-Chief is saying, this will not solve any problem. The previous reaction, this will not solve any problem. Nigeria needs a reset button. If the rule of law is not supreme and free, fair, and seen to be credible, elections conducted, everything else is a joke. And continuing in the same line, Ndubisi says, this is a good idea on paper, but implementation is the real test. Will the National Assembly actually act, or will it be another proposal on the shelf? Let us continue. Another reaction in the same line by Mikel is saying, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan is talking about frameworks, but the people are talking about fairness. Whether it is a new court or the old one, if the system is rigged from the polling units, the courtroom will just be like a theater. One more reaction from Denny, who is saying, finally, this is what Nigeria needs or this is what Nigeria needed ages ago. A dedicated constitutional court for elections would stop the endless legal circles and give voters true confidence in the process. Hashtag electoral reform, hashtag Nigeria politics. One more reaction in the same line. MOJ is saying, why didn't he do it when he was the president? It's always easier to criticize when you are not in position, but when you were there, we know what you did, do we? And moving on, in a move to promote discipline and professionalism within the force, AIG Ahiriko has advised the people to continue has instructed police officers under the command to always pay for transportation when boarding commercial vehicles. He stressed that no officer is permitted to intimidate or coerce the drivers into offering free rides, describing such behavior as an abuse of power and a violation of ethical standards. The AIG noted that this directive is part of broader efforts to rebuild public trust and improve the relationship between the police and members of the public. He also warned that any office found flouting the order would face strict disciplinary actions, emphasizing that accountability remains top priority within the command. Let's see what netizens are saying concerning this. And Noya is saying a commendable move. Respect for the law should start with those enforcing it. And continuing, Gold Coast is saying the fact that a senior officer had to issue this as a directive shows how normalized entitlement had become. In continuing, Official Dream is saying, uniformed men deserve some respect and privileges despite the fact that they are being paid salary. Go to other countries we so desperately want to be like and see how things are done there. And note, the presence of staff on buses saves these drivers from touts. And Omotayo says, great speech at Obalende, but will it change the reality on ground? We've heard these promises before, but seeing an AIG tell drivers to report directly to him is bold. Let's see if downfall drivers actually get paid tomorrow morning. Accountability is everything. And finally, let us see what is happening. Now, Aliko Dangote along the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited and state governors have pledged a total of 30.5 billion naira in support of the First Lady's Food Bank initiative. The multi-billion naira pledge is aimed at boosting the food bank program championed by Nigeria's First Lady, designed to address hunger and support vulnerable households across the country. Now, this initiative is expected to provide relief materials and food supplies to millions of Nigerians grappling with rising living costs and economic challenges. Unfortunately, this is where we end the segment. It has been an absolute pleasure. And don't forget to have fun this weekend. We know it is Easter. We are celebrating the death and resurrection of Christ, but have fun. Now, you can reach us via the social media handles displayed on the screen. My name is Chidera Ezudoye. Happy Easter celebration.